Hi there, everybody. My name is Cydney. I'm a current senior at American University majoring in CLEG, and I'm also a peer advisor here at AU. And I'm going to pull up this presentation I'm hoping to give on Handshake and how to craft a winning profile so that employers are really just attracted to your sense of personality and really are attracted to invite you to more offers using the Handshake platform. So let me go ahead and pull that up and we'll get started. One second. Alrighty, I think we are in. And let me go ahead and present. All right, so in case it begins re-recording now at this level, hi, my name is Cydney. I am a current peer advisor with the AU Career Center in Washington, D.C. I'm also a senior, and I'm going to be presenting today on how to craft a winning handshake profile and some other, really great tips and tricks that can make you stand out to potential employers using the Handshake hand site. So again, my name is Cydney. I am a rising, I don't know why there's a typo in this, but I'm a rising senior at American University, working towards a combined bachelor's and master's degree, one in CLEG, which is Communications Law, Economics, and Government, and then my master's in Public Administration with a concentration in Social Policy. I've worked at the Career Center now for one semester, and it's been really great. I love having Emily as one of my advisors. And in my time in AU, one of the reasons that drew me to the Career Center was that I've been able and been fortunate to hold 5 paid internship opportunities within my time at AU. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to come into this space and give back to, people who are still trying to figure out in college how to secure internships, how to secure career opportunities, and basically how to build their personal brand as a student. And since I've had some experience with doing that the past 4 years and even before then in high school, I felt that coming into this role as a peer advisor would be something that could suit and benefit a lot of different people here at AU. So it's been a great experience so far. And then before we get into the meat of our presentation, I kind of want to go over what, the scope of the Career Center goals were for peer advisors and what we're supposed to be helping students with. So I'm going to go into some of the roles that we basically contribute to on a daily basis to make sure that students are feeling catered to in this setting. So some quick fast facts about the PAs. The 2021-2022 PAs are myself, Cydney, Caroline, Emma, Paroma, and Ben, who are also really amazing students at AU who've had some experience, working internships, building their careers while in college, and can provide information to, rising, sophomores, freshmen, juniors about how to, advance their student brand and to secure some really amazing internship positions. We have, peer advisors from all different walks of life, all different, I guess career backgrounds and sectors that they're really passionate and knowledgeable about. So it really makes it easy for us as PAs and even the general career advisors in the office to connect with students, given that they've, worked in some of the most diverse, sectors and industries, in the country. So peer advisors, just to focus a little bit more about us specifically, we're able to help students from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Traditionally Monday through Friday every week. And we're also located on the 5th floor of Butler Pavilion. We also have a really great video about that on our Instagram if you need to be able to find us. Career advisors and the peer advisors here are also largely dedicated to making sure that, career resources that the center offers are widely available to students, whether, virtual or in person. We're kind of here to cater to the needs of the student, and we offer both in-person and virtual experiences for students to be able to get more knowledge about their careers, get more knowledge about internships and other things like that. So we're working to make sure that our resources are as accessible as possible, especially given, COVID is still raging, and we're trying to make sure that we're being safe about that as well. I actually have my mask right here next to me in case any of you were wondering or concerned, and I am in an enclosed space where I'm by myself. So also, most of our other peer advisors have had some form of, like I said before, juggling an internship experience or, some kind of extracurricular activity in conjunction with school. So it's even having that experience is something that we can pass along to students who are concerned about, well, I have time to, manage my studies, which is what most of us are primarily focused on, and still build my student brand and still build, my student career. And we can assure you, yes, those tools are there for you to succeed in holding both positions at the same time. And we actually have experience, I think all of the PAs with, juggling some form of extracurricular and, full-time course load at the same time. And we have a lot of tips to provide students about how to do that and how to manage that and make it successful for them. So I guess if we're getting more into the meat of the presentation, we're going to start talking about what is Handshake as a platform. So Handshake is, according to, the kind of the internet and just people who use Handshake loosely, it's a professional platform basically created by former students for students. And it's meant as an opportunity or a platform to expose students to diverse career opportunities, to allow them to get in touch with recruiters, to allow them to search for jobs and events to attend, to search for virtual interviews that might be going on with employers that they are interested in. It's really the one-stop shop for students to kind of, get well immersed to the world of how, college networking can work before jumping into a bigger platform, where, networking is more globalized, like LinkedIn and Indeed and those other sites. So unlike those other sites, Handshake is solely focused around creating community, basically, on college campuses and making sure that students within these spaces feel connected to each other and to the larger world of employers and recruiters who are just waiting to, recruit some awesome candidates from, these great institutions. Handshake is also, it's not like Indeed. I really want to capitalize on that in this moment. Filling out your entire Handshake profile, like we'll get into later, really does matter with the traction that you'll be able to receive from employers. So making sure that, it looks nice, it looks, it's also an engaging, way to share your story and like your unique career path with employers. Like all of those things are seen through your Handshake profile. So they really do make a difference between, if your profile is complete and, if you'll be able to secure a job using this platform and have, I guess, successful results while using Handshake. So it's also a place largely where you can search and access Career Center resources from the AU Career Center, which is great. And we'll get into that later about how to specifically access the unique resources that AU has to offer. But overall, Handshake in and of itself is a platform, again, kind of like that one-stop shop where students can come, network with other students, network with employers, network with, recruiters, and also see what kind of job opportunities are out there for future semesters and, really utilize the platform to set themselves up for career success is what Handshake is meant to help students do. So if we're going into the next slide, getting access to the platform, a lot of students have had some trouble in the past with, utilizing a Handshake and even, just the initial steps of getting there and getting, acclimated with what the profile and the platform looks like is something that's been troublesome. So I've added some quick little tips on how to get, access to the platform. You first go to the american.joinhandshake.com link. And then you're going to sign in with your AU ID and your password, which I'm hoping that all of you know. And if you don't, you can access that information through, I think, the American University student page. And then once you've arrived, after putting in your AU ID and password, you'll arrive at this sort of homepage, which can be seen here. And it's just a pretty, standard homepage, and it's, has a quote, steps you can take to succeed today. And it kind of gives you a little dashboard to come into where you can either, click to attend an event and learn more about employers. In this case, the screenshot is actually from mine, so I can reply to Urban Teachers, an organization that reached out to me not too long ago. So it's kind of like when you arrive at this place and getting access to the platform, it just kind of shows you the most current updates to do with your account, and it suggests, I guess, some next steps for you as the user, kind of just suggesting like different avenues that you might want to, use on your Handshake, access this go around, if that makes sense. So I guess when we're reviewing the key Handshake features, when you get past that first initial page of just like the like I guess it's the dashboard. You're going to go into I guess this next space where it initially just says jobs, and you'll click up here in the top right to get to this space. And basically, to start the search for jobs and internships on Handshake, you'll come to the space. You'll kind of assess what they're recommending to you in the first place. So for my major, I'm a CLEG major, so I get recommendations for communications jobs, legal positions, economic positions, and even government jobs. So it's kind of just like a really diverse range of, industries that I'll get job notifications and suggestions for. And as of now, I have 17.1 thousand jobs that I'm like able to apply for. And so it really, in this space, what I would advise most students to do to make the most of this section is to make sure, one, that your selected major is up to date on Handshake, so that when it refers positions for you and that it refers internships for you, that they are, tailored to your specific interests at the moment. And then the second thing that I would advise students to do is, if you're looking for internships, which I know a lot of you are, or even full-time job positions, to go ahead and set your filters right away. Even if you don't really know what you're looking for, make sure to, in this section specifically, if I was able to click it now, it's a screenshot, obviously, it would provide me with numerous other filters to go through and be able to really tailor my search to things that interest me. And I would also be sure to put, if you're COVID conscious or worried about, things being virtual in person, making sure to specify whether you want an on-campus position or a virtual position, and things like that. Also specifying if you want an internship or a part-time role or a full-time role. Those things make a crucial difference in the amount of jobs that you'll see, and specifically the location. So the one thing that I've advocated to students during this time is that, though we are virtual, still continue to search, to do specific searches just for jobs within the city that you're attending college, but also, search wider, search in places, they're offering virtual, internships, fellowships, things like that, because there are a plethora of those options out there. And they don't also always require you to be within the same state to, get the benefits, the pay, and the other, kind of, I guess, perks that the position is offering, if that makes sense. So for this space, you can also search using specific keywords, and the jobs that align within those keywords will pop up using the search bar. And you can also go up here to search for saved jobs that you might have use this bookmark tab right here to add to your save bar. So there are a lot of different functions that you can utilize to search for jobs and internships strategically using Handshake. But I would say, when approaching this section and approaching, a job and internship search, really start, and the three things that I do before I start any searches: one, narrow down the industry or sort of general area that you want your internship to be in. Even if it seems far-fetched and out there, make sure that you have that, background, that that if you are interested in communications, that you are going to be primarily applying for communications internships. If you're interested in medical communities, and medic things like that, you're going to be applying for things that are solely focused around health, because it really makes you, and it'll make your application process a lot more, streamlined and easier to only be focusing on one place or one kind of industry at a time, so it's not too overwhelming. And then from there, I would also, in the research of finding out which industries interest you, find out which roles within those industries will potentially interest you, so that when you come to this space, you can search for those roles specifically, and it'll give you a more, focused and directed result for the things that you're looking for, if that makes sense. So those are just some of my quick tips to searching for jobs and internships. There are plenty more that I could probably give away, but that's mainly the primary way of using this tab, is to, use those filters to your advantage to really get detailed and, hyper-focused results for the types of things that you're interested in. And then to also make sure to utilize that search bar by searching for positions in your free time that might be positions that you feel like your skills are best aligned for. So for this stage of the presentation, attending events, which we'll keep relatively short because it's pretty easy. In that same, if you were on the Handshake site, this is another screenshot, you would go to the top left-hand corner and click on events. And then from there, it'll bring up this event page where you can go and search for events that AU is having either on campus or virtual. Most of these events, I'm going to be very honest, I think they are virtual this semester just because of COVID and things like that, which is fine because we're having a lot of great workshops and webinars like this one that you can find by utilizing the Handshake app. And I'm sure for most of you attending this event, you probably found this event through Handshake by searching or, getting an email from someone that the event was posted. So make sure, in knowing your interests, go through and search some of those keywords associated with the jobs and positions that you're interested in the events section to see if any employers who are associated with Handshake or AU or even AU Career Center are, throwing events related to those like key focus areas that you're interested in. And again, you can use filters in this section that will be very helpful in like giving you hyper-focused results for events specifically tailored to like things that you are, passionate about and things that will help you advance your career. So for attending on-campus and virtual employer interviews, it's similar to events. You'll go, I think the screenshot actually cut it off, but you'll go to that same kind of tab of events and you'll go to on-campus interviews. It's the second little portion of the tab up here. And you'll kind of just scroll through according to your interests and according to like the employers that, most make you passionate to work for. You're gonna go through and search if they're one, holding any events soon, and two, if that event is in person or virtual. Like I said, most of these will probably be virtual given COVID, but it's still important in certain cases to just do a double check to make sure that it's not like a hybrid event or something that you could go and have an in-person experience at. So in this case, in searching for virtual interviews with employers, which the Career Center will make sure to regularly update and, email out to the student body when these kind of big employer-led events are going on so that students can sign up for spaces. It's really important for you during this time to make sure that the events that you're looking for is things that are specifically tailored to your interests as a student, if that makes sense. So for other resources that are available on Handshake, like we just gone through, you can click on the Career Center tab. So if this was an actual thing that you can click on, you would click here. I think it's in the top right-hand corner on Handshake. And it'll take you to the Career Center page and it'll show you a lot of like cool resources that we have that I've screenshotted here just for convenience. We have resume guides and templates offered through the university that kind of just give you, like a standard resume used for people within your major, and also some guides on how they've used I guess that major to advance in different career sectors and things like that. We have the career guides by major, which are really great to utilize if you're unsure, like, hey, I'm a journalism major, like what other cool and unique things have journalism majors in the past done with their degree at AU. And so it kind of offers some unique perspectives broken down by, the degrees that we have within AU, which is really important to take advantage of. We also have the Handshake work authorization, frequently asked questions in case you have a question about federal work study or working at AU in general. We have access through this link as well to the career planning and COVID resources tab, which can be very helpful if you're like worried about COVID and, maintaining a full-time job or even a part-time job while doing school. We have Going Global, which, puts you in touch with a bunch of like international career resources, which is great. We have Big Interview, which, allows you to test your interview skills, with a bot in an AI kind of simulated environment, which is really helpful. And there are a lot of other different, like resources like Quad Jobs where you can find part-time work, Parker Dewey, also micro internships, and just a lot of different avenues within the AU Handshake Career Center resources that will set you up for future success, whether it's just having a part-time job like dog walking or babysitting, or even an internship that sets you up for an actual career. There's a little bit of something for everyone within the Handshake platform, and so knowing where to find these resources is just the most crucial and key part to all of this. And so these resources specifically, again, can be found on the Career Center tab on AU, and they can be, accessed pretty easily once you go in and you can click on all of these and they'll take you to the sites where you can, log in and learn some new skills in some cases. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And so this is where we really get into the meat of the presentation, actually crafting the profile that will have like winning results for you as, a student or as a young professional or whatever. So yeah, let's get into it. So I think I'm going to actually move my little figure thing out of the way so people can see. But in this case, we've opened up and we're now to like the screenshots of what you would see if you were actually logging into Handshake and looking at your profile for the first time. So you'll be, to even get to this place, you'll use, again, next to the Career Center tab at the top right of the Handshake platform is, a little icon with your photo on it. So you're going to click that icon and you're going to click on My Profile. It's the first option at the top, and you're going to click that as well. And so from there, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. And that is actually me. And this is what kind of my profile looks like as a student on Handshake. And so the first thing that I can point out, like as the person leading this presentation, is that my Handshake profile is only 35% complete, which to get and attract employers like in their entirety, you want to make sure that your profile is as complete as it can be. And I think there are certain elements that Handshake has just forgotten to update, because I'm pretty sure my profile is a lot more complete than that. But that's aside, you want to make sure as soon as you're logging in to check and see the completeness of your profile, so that if there's anything that's missing, you can go ahead and strategically put time aside to fix those errors and to also make sure it's grammatically correct and things like that. So that aside, when you come in, you're going to be met with kind of this My Journey section that's attached to your profile. And it's your one way to kind of like show off your most relevant, your best experience that you've had, while as a college student, or while, if you're just coming from high school, show off the experience that you've had from those areas to future employers to get them to look at you for career opportunities. And even recruiters can see this portion of your profile so that they'll reach out to you, hoping to connect you with opportunities that are in line with the things that you put in the section. So it's very important when you're crafting your profile, especially crafting the response to the My Journey, which will basically just prompt you, I think, with the prompt of like, what are some things that you're proud of, like as a student worker, or different things like that. And so I kind of just laid out, I've started with kind of identifying who I am as a person. I'm a rising senior at American University, and I would kind of employ all students, filling out this profiles to kind of start with, their major, the school, any kind of like key and like initial first interest that you have and that you want to stand out to employers will go in this first section. And then from there, if you choose to have more than that, because sometimes this is enough. Sometimes just having the first section to kind of give a brief overview of who you are to an employer can be enough to secure you a position on Handshake. But if you want to go to an even more in-depth like experience of kind of like the work that you've done, you can add this additional second section. Like kind of tell about the things that you're good at, your skills, other, work experience that you've had. It's really your opportunity to kind of name drop and just find like, and just follow honestly, the flow of your resume to do this, which is exactly what I've done. Like I've taken my resume, I've kind of looked at my first position, summarized it, and then put it in this platform and kind of just went through, if we were able to slow down and like scroll to the bottom, you would see that I basically just walked through my resume position by position, and then kind of summed up at the bottom, like why these, previous experiences or skills might be a good fit for, future employers or future recruiters. And you kind of just in this, space kind of at the bottom with a thank you for reading, and to whoever's reading the profile. And then kind of like, if you would like to connect, please reach out, a kind of call to action to get them to, look at you even further and to make the initial push to reach out to you, if that makes sense. So those are just some kind of general tips that I've used like in this section to speak about my experience. You want to talk about things that you're passionate in. You want to talk about experiences that you've had to grow and lead. Employers love hearing about leadership experiences. So any of those, like, I guess, experiences that you've had, like, making an impact on the lives of lives of other people, you want to make sure to talk about that in this section. So yeah, so moving on from that, I guess we can get into some of the handshake do's and don'ts that will also make you stand out when you're kind of crafting this profile and making sure that you're, being the most attractive version of yourself that you can be to employers. So the first do is to make sure your profile is visible. There have been so many times I can't even count when I've gone through and done all these great edits to my profile and, made myself really approachable and attractive to employers. And I realized, a week later that my profile wasn't even visible for employers to read. So making sure that that is on, and I think I took a screenshot over here and there's a section below on the Handshake profile portal where you can see this, if your profile is actually visible, and making sure that's in green and with a check mark next to it is also just super important to make sure that people can see all the really great work that you've spent time writing about and, really making accessible to them through this platform. And you also want to be sure to add a photo if you don't have one attached to your Handshake profile. Any relevant skills that you worked on or utilized in the past in job positions or even in volunteer positions are important, whether it be, crowd management or, stage production or, project management or, writing press releases. Make sure that all those things are kind of put in a really visible place on your profile so that when the employer is kind of considering you for, positions later on down the line, they don't have to wonder or think, is this person the right one for the job? You'll have already told them through, various actions on your profile that you are a great candidate and that you are a great fit. So I guess moving on from that, you want to make sure that always presentation matters. So making sure that your profile is grammatically correct and dynamic is super, super important to making sure that employers and recruiters and even other students feel comfortable reaching out to you. And I think from this space, I always ask myself before I log out of Handshake or when I'm about to make edits, do these edits, to the profile that I'm building, do they make anyone want to hire me? Do they make anyone, want to reach out to me based on the information I currently have listed? And so the immediate answer to that question, just to yourself, by yourself, is no. And I think from there, having that honest first, reaction to maybe this isn't what employers are looking for, but how can I better that, is also always something you want to kind of, further, if that makes sense. You want to, even if it's not right the first time, even if your presentation isn't what you necessarily want it to be, there are always, opportunities and chances for you to make it better and to tweak it to what specifically certain employers that you're interested in might want in a candidate. So in this, I would say presentation, as much as it matters, keep going back, keep, re-editing and re-looking over your work on Handshake and re-looking over, kind of the way that you conceptualize and summarize your work history to make sure that it's still relevant and I guess impactful to the person that's reading it. Because sometimes we can just get used to, having the same old resume, having the same old profile and just being comfortable and content with what it is. But a lot of times those actions of just being comfortable and content can hold us back. So you want to make sure that over time you're, updating it to where it's appropriate and to where you're constantly drawing new opportunities to yourself. And just moving on from there, I would say one of my third do's is to just use the platform to connect and network with other students who share your interests, which I have been personally lacking out on it in the past because I use Handshake mostly to connect with employers and recruiters. But I will say in the times I've used Handshake to connect with students who shared my interests, I've had some great coffee talks and great, moments to just strategize with other people in my position who've also, had experiences, being as simple as it may be, being rejected from an internship, not having things go according to plan, and just having those moments of interaction with people who are in your same position is really important because it helps you build community with people who are in a similar boat as you while you're on campus. And especially if you've been virtual and especially if you've been out because of COVID, having, Handshake there to be able to see who's interested in things that you might be interested in can really be helpful in making friends in the long run as well. So yeah, so I guess some additional do's of, building a winning handshake profile include making sure to fill out your work history, making sure that once you fill out that really sweet profile and that really sweet grabber at the top of your page that shows what you're about, the kind of work that you contributed to, being able to back that information up with a filled out work history that, doesn't really skimp on the details is so, so important, because if you provide enough details up front, in an interview process, when an employer or recruiter eventually reaches out to you, they won't, again, have to wonder what kind of candidate you are. They'll be more likely to hire you just because of the information you provided by taking initiative, by already putting it out there before they had to ask. Taking initiative and making sure that, crucial information that people usually have to ask for of candidates is already just readily available to them makes their job a lot easier, and therefore makes them a lot, a lot more inclined and easier of a process to hire you into certain roles. So making sure that you have like a filled out work history and, a detailed work history on Handshake, leaving out, the things that might be, I guess, in certain industries in DC, like kind of like information sensitive and things that might be classified and other, like you can leave those things out. But I think it is important for employers to know like what your typical day looked like as an intern or as a member of a certain group or certain organization. And so basically here, I've also taken another screenshot of an organization that I've worked for. And I actually found the internship for this organization, the Information Technology Industry Council, via Handshake, which was amazing. And it was a paid internship, which is even more amazing. And so in that process, after I finished up that internship, I made sure to enter it as a part of my Handshake work history. And I kind of just reflected upon first what the scope of my job was as an intern. And then I kind of like broke it down into three, bullet points that, makes me look more attractive to employers. So I'm going to kind of point out why and how I'm doing that, like within this example. So first, I want to speak about, how I drafted press statements. I think this actually is, it needs to be edited a little bit more, but it's just a good example. But I talked about how I drafted press statements and I've written other communications materials. And then I quantified, which is so, so important on these, and even on your resume, quantifying your experience, quantifying your impact with numbers and numerical data is paramount. Because even with the simple addition of just having this 100 plus tweets or however many, lives you impacted, while it can be, as the person who was a part of those activities, really daunting to, count the people you impacted as numbers and to count the, work that you did solely as numbers, it helps to employers, conceptualize like the true impact of your work. So just from this, just from having said, I included 100 plus tweets, an employer knows that I can manage a high volume of, having to draft a high volume of content within a short period of time. And that makes me more attractive. And even with, having 80 plus member organizations a part of the organization I was working for, it just makes these specific and strategic, I guess, numerical values being added to like your work experience just, again, shows employers that your work and your contributions have an impact, and they have a tangible impact because these numbers don't lie. These numbers are people, these numbers are tangible, confirmations that what you've done in this position has been helpful to the organization. And again, it makes them more likely to see you as a viable candidate for any position moving forward. So I also talked about, any opportunity you have to name drop other organizations that you worked in while as an intern, be sure to do that because it makes you stand out. I talked about my role and time producing and scripting podcasts and just kind of, outlining the scope of how that impacted people and like where it was featured is even important because it just makes people, look more to you as somebody who is self-assured in their job, and it makes employers know that inherently, because you've listed all these things, that you can do the task for their organization with no problem. And I also talked about assisting in the development of the organization's social media and digital content platforms, which those kind of skills, especially in today's market with things increasingly becoming more virtual and more, digitized, makes people attractive to employers because they want to know that you can use the internet, you can use social media platforms with confidence and with ease. And it's something that it sets you up for like just better experiences with work, and even just other organizations that you're like helping out with moving forward. So all this aside, I would say when you're crafting, and filling out your work history, reflect on the, if you need to even pull out the form for when you were hired and like in which it outlines the scope and the duty of your jobs and reference that and writing about, the unique projects that you worked on while you were in a certain position, because it really will help you keep in focus, like basically how you've impacted, the organization, even after, the time that you've gone. Some additional to-dos or some do's and don'ts would be to, include the kind of projects that you are involved in, and to make sure like there's a section at the end of the Handshake profile portion where you can talk about, the project name, if you've ever, been published, or had an essay, given an award because of, your writing and things like that. You can talk about the organizations and extracurriculars you've been a part of. You can talk about the various courses that you've been a part of, which are all really great ways to, additionally just make yourself stand out as a, viable candidate for any position moving forward. All of these go into, crafting your student brand and crafting a picture of who you are as an employee and as a person to employers and recruiters who are looking at your profile via Handshake. And then just some don'ts that we, wouldn't be that great to incorporate into Handshake would be, don't leave off relevant experience from your Handshake profile. That's very, very important. Again, like I've been saying, employers have no other way to know who you are, like outside of what you present on that platform. So make sure you're always presenting your best and most dynamic parts of your experience, because it really will. It will call employers to you and it will make them feel that you are a viable candidate for any position moving forward. Because when you can take the initiative to hype yourself, and to make sure that you're presented in a great light and be your own, biggest advocate and biggest cheerleader on Handshake, they have no other choice but to believe you and to believe, the legitimacy of the person that you're putting forth. And so knowing that they already view you as legitimate based upon what you put forth, making sure that you're putting forth the best of the best in regards to your personality, in regards to your work ethic, is just really important to making sure that you get hired for a job and that you can take care of yourself and have a great life. And I would also say another don't stress if it takes you a long time to land an opportunity after making changes to your profile. It happens to the best of us. Students use Handshake all the time without success, but when you really do take the time and initial effort to, put work into your profile, put work into your making sure your work history and everything like that is filled out, recruiters will notice that and they'll see, amongst the sea of other people who aren't doing those things, that you are one person who has taken initiative to fill out their profile, and they'll be more likely to recognize you and reach out to you because of that. But even if they don't reach out to you right away, it's okay. Do not stress. You as a person and as a candidate and as a student are capable of reaching any kind of positions, any kind of dreams that you hope for yourself. And in knowing that, there's no reason to be scared or, stressed about when someone doesn't reach back out to you or doesn't, necessarily offer you the experience that you were looking for. Because if you know at the end of the day that you, despite all of that, are still, a great employee, a great candidate for any position moving forward, that's what makes the most difference, is like having that security in yourself. So don't stress if it takes a long time to like land an opportunity after making changes to your profile. The people that you're looking for, the opportunities that you're trying to attract will come to you. They will find you. That being said, one of my last don'ts is don't bombard recruiters or even employers at your favorite companies with unnecessary questions. And while this could sound a little harsh, many company recruiters, while they love that you have questions relevant to open positions, often have a high volume of people that they're getting, correspondence from or having to send correspondence to, and that they're just generally interacting with daily. So just be mindful, in using this platform, you do have an extensive amount of reach and access to recruiters, but making sure that you're, strategically messaging them in times only when you need to is the most important thing. And you want to message them when there's only a real opportunity for you to, secure either an open position that they're, trying to fill or something like that. But making sure that you just are, using your own discernment to think about, have I reached out to this person too many times today? Am I being, what other people might call like kind of just like, lack of better words, annoying? Kind of curtailing, expectations of recruiters is also important. But making sure that you're not bombarding them in spite of all of this is the most important thing, because while they're there to help you secure positions, they also are there to, do their job, which is to, report back basically feedback about clients and about candidates to the employer. So just, making sure to give them some time to breathe is really important. So let's review. We're almost at the end of this, which is really sad because I've had such a good time talking to you guys. But yeah, let's review what we've been talking about during the session. So basically, Handshake, a great platform to advance your career. It's a great platform built for students, by students, to put you in touch with some great opportunities, to facilitate conversations with recruiters and employers about future work opportunities for you. And overall, Handshake has a plethora of different resources for you to build your career, like webinars, career building programs, job searches, and more. And even the opportunities that the Career Center offers through Handshake. There are plenty of different avenues for you to use this platform in a variety of different ways. And so knowing that all those options are there is what makes the biggest difference. So making sure to take advantage of those options, whether it be, using Handshake to get access to the Career Center's version of LinkedIn Learning, or even, going global, or, big interview to practice for some important position interview that you have coming up. There are a variety of different resources there to help you succeed, whether you're in the process of applying for an internship or a job or not, or if you're just trying to build your personal student brand. There's something for everyone. And so making sure you take the time to check out those resources, could be the difference between having a really successful experience on Handshake and having one that's not so successful. And so from that, your profile on Handshake, it should be designated and designed to make you stand out, showcase what makes your career path unique, what makes you unique as a candidate if you don't have any career experience, and just take that time in crafting your profile to really think about who you are as a person, what kind of ideals and goals you represent, what kind of goals you want to accomplish, what kind of jobs you want to work for, and craft a profile that is emblematic of that person. And craft a profile that is emblematic of the unique goals that you want to achieve. And so your profile is an area of Handshake that you have like the utmost discretion with. So whatever you present is really what employers will know you for before they reach out. So making sure that you put your best foot forward and presenting like the best information about, your unique work skills and work habits, and even just your personality in general is really important during that moment, because it's what they'll remember you for in the long run. And I guess for employers on Handshake, basically think about what kind of person and employee you'd be, and think about how like that person and kind of employee that you are does that match with what employers are necessarily looking for, as a candidate for the position that they're hiring for. And I think if those two, things are integrated, if they make sense, that means there's obviously a green light for the different positions that you're applying for. But if there is some kind of like, terse relationship between the kind of employee that you are and the kind of, job that an organization that you perceive to like, is hiring for, don't hesitate to take time to, do more research about that organization. See if they're really the type of employer that you want to work for. See if their values match up with your core sense of personality. And if not, it's okay to leave those positions, leave those organizations behind, because I promise you, you will be exposed to organizations who have direct interest in common with what you want to achieve. And once you find those organizations, you're already prepared to address them with all of these really useful techniques that we, talked about today. And you already have the capability to woo them and to hopefully, the end goal being secure a position with that organization. So that being said, I wanted to thank all of you for coming today. This was actually my first Career Center presentation. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email or, ask us questions on Instagram via DM. Instagram is AUCCPAs. And, the peer advisory email is also there if you guys have any questions. And if you wanted to, there is a certificate of completion that you can screenshot now for having completed this, course, which is really fun. So yeah. And also to reiterate, like the rest of the career peer advisors, this presentation will be recorded and will soon be posted to the Career Center YouTube. And it will be, just an opportunity for you to go back and reflect on the things we've talked about today. And to also, have a moment to stop and pause in certain spaces where I'm talking about different and specific things. So that being said, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope to see you all soon. And I hope that everyone has a great weekend.